Hi, I'm Sandy Genovese and welcome to this episode of the Ellison Education video series. Good ideas are popping up all over the place today because we are cutting Popup Sponge. If you didn't know it, your Ellison machine can cut anything scissors will cut, and today it's going to be Popup Sponge. Here is the compressed sponge, which is how you buy it like at the craft store, and here is the shape. I'm going to cut the octopus because this would be pretty difficult to try to cut something thick like this with a pair of scissors to really help you see how cool this is to cut in the Ellison machine. I'm using the Big Shot Pro, so I have the die with the rubber side or the blade sitting up, and I'm going to put the cutting pad over the top, and then I'll just go ahead and I'll roll it through. It cuts the Popup Sponge just as easily as it would cut paper. So I'll bring this out and show you, and you now have this really cool sponge. Let me show you the octopus that I've just cut, and I'm going to bring it over here because what I want to do is I want to drop it in water so you really get the effect of what this looks like when you drop it in. Look at how wonderfully it pops up, just like the name implies, and I'm going to squeeze this out and then show you. You have a perfectly good, working sponge that can then be used for so many different things. This sponge can actually be used as a tool to sponge paint. Here you can see that I've die cut the heart shape, and then I've just taken red paint, and you can place the paint either with an applicator, or you can put the paint on a paper plate and then just dip the sponge in it. Once you have the paint, you go ahead and you can then sponge paint. In this case, I was sponge painting on fabric, but you can also sponge paint onto paper. And here I've done the sponge painting with the butterflies. You can then take the sponge designs and you can die cut it into other shapes. The background of this woven fish was fully painted with the sponge. I'm going to take and show a really fun thing. A friend of mine who was teaching science took the shapes. Once again, you know, I never get tired of that. It's so much fun to see how cool that is when that pops up. Once you have this moist like this, it is just the best place for you to grow seeds. So if you're talking to the kids about anything having to do, in this case, this is alfalfa sprouts that I'm sprinkling on here. These will grow right in the sponge itself. If you then go back and every day you moisten the sponge back up, and you'd want to put the seeds, I like to put them all over the whole thing. In a couple of weeks, you have this it grows up like to this tall, very lush field of alfalfa sprouts. I've done it with wheatgrass. It's all kinds of fun things. That's also, so you can see how great it relates to science. If you look over here, the same friend, when she was teaching a unit on weather, she had the shapes that were the cloud shapes. And then when the kids got them wet, they talked about the difference between a cloud that was holding enough moisture that would actually rain and you could squeeze the water out of the sponge versus ones that are just damp. The science possibilities are cool. Even the holidays, if you look down below, you can see that I've got a heart like for Valentine's Day or a shamrock for St. Patrick's Day. You can use these sponges for so many things. They're great as a tool for sponge painting. You'll never have a classroom that's as clean as when you give the kids sponges to clean up, and they're good for a million other things.